Hi friends, my name is Akil Ahmed, and in this particular video tutorial I will show you how to archive the files after loading in SSIS. So this is my profile. I have 10 plus years of experience on Microsoft technologies, especially in SSIS and in SQL Server. So the agenda of today's video tutorial is how to archive files after processing in SSIS. Okay, so in this demo we will move the files to an archive folder on the file system. So we will be using script tasks to move the files. So we will be using system.iodll in C# to move the files. So if a file will already be in the archive folder, so first of all we will delete that file and then we will move the new file to the archive folder. So without wasting time, let's jump to the demo. I have SQL Server 2016 Developer Edition installed on my machine, and there is a training database, and in this database there is a table test data. So we will be loading our CSV files to this particular table. So right now I have two CSV files here, customer1.csv and then customer2.csv. So if you want to check the data in it, so it seems like there is some customer data. We have customer ID, first name, last name, gender and company name, and then we have second file as well, which also contains similar kind of data. So our SSIS package will actually loop through all CSV files in this particular directory C files, and then after loading the file to a SQL Server table, it will archive the file or move the file to this particular folder, archive folder. And if a file will already be there, then it will delete that. Okay, so now let's move to the Visual Studio 2015. So this is my, you can say, Visual Studio 2015 or SQL Server Data Tools 2015 that I will be using to create the SSIS package. First of all, we will create an execute SQL task which will check if the SQL Server table to which we are going to load the data, whether it exists on the SQL Server database or not. So if the table will not be there, then it will create the table, and if table will be there, then first of all it will drop the table and then will create a fresh table. So you can maybe name it like clean table, and then right click on it, select edit, and then we can make a OLEDB connection to the SQL Server database. New connection. I already had created one connection, so it's showing here, so you can select it. Okay, and then under SQL statement you can actually copy and paste this particular query, which will drop and recreate the test data table, and then paste it here, click OK. Okay, so we have configured the execute SQL task which can actually drop and recreate a table. So if you want to check data whether there is some data there, so maybe you can write some select query here. Okay, so we already have 1050 records, so maybe I can run this query. So the query actually got ran on master database, but I don't want to do that. I want to execute it on the training database, so I can re-execute the query. And now if you will rerun the select query, so the table should be empty because I just drop it and recreate it. Okay, so this is our SQL Server table. And now to loop through all files, we can use a for each loop container. Then connect the for each loop container with the execute SQL task. Right click for each loop container, select edit, and now we can configure it to loop through all CSV files. Go to collection. So under enumerator, for each file enumerator is already selected, so leave it as it is because it can loop through all CSV files. And now we can browse the folder from which we want to load the data. So our files are situated inside C files directory, so we can select the C files, and under file types we can put like CSV because we want start or CSV, so it will loop through all CSV files. And then under variable mapping we can select the, so at this particular location we need to map it to a SSIS variable which will be file path, so that it can store the path of a particular file. But as of now I have not created any variables, so let me click OK right now and then go back to the control flow and open the variables window. And now I can create the variables here. So the first variable I want to create is file path. So this particular SSIS variable will actually store the path of a file that will be iterated through for each loop container. So I can provide an initial value to it. Maybe I can provide this one. Okay, and then I can create another SSIS variable as well, which I can call archive folder path. okay, so that in case in future if the path of the archive folder changes, so you can directly change it in the SSIS variable. Okay, and then I can copy the path from this particular location and then I can put it here. Alright, so two SSIS variables are enough for this particular demo. So I can go back to the for each loop container again, and then under variable mapping I can map the file path SSIS variable. So every time the loop will iterate through all files, the value of the file path will be dynamically changed as per the CSV file that is being read at that particular time. Okay, now to load the data from a CSV file, to move data from one source to another, we will using the data flow task. So drag and drop data flow task to the for each loop container and then go inside the data flow task. Because the data is in the CSV file, so flat file source will be used to read the data from the CSV file. So drag and drop flat file source and configure it, right click and edit it, and then click new to create a new flat file connection. Then browse the CSV file, change a file type from star.txt to CSV, select one of the available file, click open. Make sure that column names in the first data row is checked in, because in the CSV file the in the first row we have the column names, header information, and under preview you can actually see the data that is coming from the CSV file. Click OK. You can preview data here as well. So data seems good. You can click on columns to make sure which columns you want to select. In case if you don't want to select one of the columns, then you can maybe remove it, but in this case I want all columns. Okay, click OK. So we have configured the flat file source, and now let's connect the OLEDB destination, which can actually insert data to a SQL Server table. So connect the flat file source with the OLEDB destination. Right click OLEDB destination, select edit, and then under the name of the table or view we can select the SQL Server table. So the table name was test data. Then click on the mappings to make sure that all columns from source are mapped with the destination columns. In case one of the column is not mapped, then you can you can map it manually as well. So click OK. So we have configured our for each loop container. However, one thing is remaining. Right now the connection to the flat file is not dynamic, it's static. So right now if you will run the SSIS package, every time it will load the data from the one file, which was customer underscore one.csv, because the connection string is not dynamic right now, it's static. So to make the connection string dynamic, go to expressions, click here three dots, and under property we need to select the connection string property, and then under expressions we can map the file path to here, evaluate expression. Okay, so every time the value of the file path SSIS variable will change, the flat file connection manager value will also be changed, so it will load that particular file only. Okay, so now we are done with configuring the for each loop container, and now it's time to actually move the file from C files directory to the archive folder. Okay, so to do that, what we need to do is drag and drop the script task into the for each loop container, connect the data flow task, the script task, because we want to move the file after loading it. So maybe we can name it like archive file. Right click on it, select edit. Script language is C# selected by default, so we can leave it as it is. And under read only variables we can select the user variables. Those those can be used inside this particular script task. So the first variable is archive folder path and the second one is file path. We can copy the name of these variables and click edit. We have copied the name because we will be using these variables inside the script task. So this is the window where we can write our code. You can see add your code here, so I can paste the variable names here. Now because we will be dealing with the file system, so under the namespaces we will be using the system.io namespace, which can actually move file from one location to another. So we can write like system.io here. Okay, so this is done here. Now what we need to do, let's create a local variable for archive folder path, and then get the value from the SSIS variable tts dot variables. Then you can paste the name here, value dot to string. So what this line of code will do, it has declared a local C# variable archive folder path, and then it has fetched the value from the archive folder path SSIS variable and then assign it to local C# variable. And now let's do the same thing for the file path as well. Copy and then paste it. Okay. And now what we can do is that we can uh, create a local variable named file name. Okay. And then what we want to do is that this file path actually stores the complete path of the file. So it stores the directory path as well as the actual name of the file. So I want to get the only the file name from it, from the file path. So there is a option here. You can write path dot get file name. So this is the method. So and then you can provide the full file path here. So this piece of code can actually get the actual file name from the file path, and then I can create another local variable and I can name it like dest file path. Okay. And what it will contain is that it will contain the archive folder path backslash, and then it will contain the file name. So this is the full path of the destination file. So we will be moving the file path from its original location to this particular location to archive folder and then the file name. All right. And then the first thing that we will be doing, that if file exists in the destination folder, then delete that particular file. Okay. So what we can do is we can use a if function here. If file dot exist, then we can provide the destination file path. So what we need to do is file dot delete. Okay. So if a file will be in the archive folder, it will delete it. And now what we want to do is that if source file exists, if file dot exist, this is the file path. So if source file exists, then what we want to do is that we want to move it to archive folder. Then we can use the file dot move function here. The source file path will be this one, and then the dest file path will be this one. Okay. So if source file exists, then move the source file to dest file. Okay. So this is the only few lines of code which can actually check if the destination file exists in the archive folder, then it can delete it, and then it can move the file from source location to the destination location. Maybe I can put a breakpoint here, and then I can show you for one of the file that how the values will change, and then you can see it. Okay. Alright, so if you see right now the archive folder is empty, and then our two files are situated inside C files location, and the test data table is empty right now. Alright, so right click and then execute package. Alright, so it has loaded first file which contains 1000 number of records, and now it's trying to open the script task, and because there is a breakpoint there, so it will take a little bit time. Alright, so it has opened the script, and now to move further we can click on this one, step over, or you can press F10 key from your keyboard. So I will be clicking here so that you can see it actually. So let's step over. So now you can see that the value under archive folder path is C files archive folder. This is the path of the archive folder. Okay. Step over, and then this is the complete path of the file path. Okay. And then step over, and then the file name is customer underscore one.csv. Step over, and then the dest file path will be C file archive folder and then the customer one.csv. Okay. and now we are checking if dest file exists. So because there is no dest file, then it moved over, and then now we are checking if source file exists, then so it the condition got true, and then now it's moving the file to the dest directory, I mean to the archive folder. So if you will check the archive folder right now, so you can see that the file has been moved from here to archive folder. Okay, so this was, this is how we can do it. And now we can click on continue. So because there is a breakpoint, so it will go to the script again in second go as well, and there were only two files, so I think we should be fine here. So I can just show you again the values of different variables, then I will disable the breakpoint. So if you check the archive folder path, so archive folder path is same, and the value of the file path is now customer2.csv. So the full path is c files customer_2.csv, and then the file name is the customer_2.csv, and test file path will be this one. So file does not exist in the destination, and now we are moving the second file as well to the archive folder. So we have moved the second file. So now you can see that right now there are no files inside C files, and under archive folder we have both the files. Okay, so I can click on continue. So the package ran fine. I can stop the package right now, and then I can go to edit script, and then I can remove the breakpoint from it. After this is done, I will show you. So let's remove the breakpoint. Okay, so if you want to check the data in the SQL Server table, so you can see that it has loaded two files. First file had 1000 records, second file had 20 records. Okay, now what I want to show you that right now the archive folder contains two files. Okay, and let me process more files. So for example, I copied four files from here. Okay, and then what I want to show you that, for example, if I copied one more file from here that is already processed, so I process, I put the second file as well. However, archive folder contains both files customer1 and customer2, but I copied customer2 file again just to show you that it can actually overwrite the existing file. So let me open this particular file. Okay, it got opened in Excel, and now what I want to do, it contains 20 records, I want to add one more record here. So for example, I added one more record, I changed to 21, and let other things as it is. Maybe I can remove the last name. Okay, and I can save save it. Yes, all right, so I have done some changes to this particular file. I added one more record here, and last name is blank. However, if you check in the archive folder, then it should have only 20 records. Okay, and there is no last record that I added. So now if I'm going to rerun the SSIS package, then what it will do, it will load the data from all files, and then will move the all files to archive folder. And before moving the second file, because the second file is already there, so it will delete this file and then move this file from source to destination. So let me start the package. Alright, so package ran fine. It was very quick, you can see, and now it has loaded all files from C files, and then you can see that it has moved all files to the archive folder. And if you want to check this file customer2, so you can see that this is the latest file with 21 records from the source location. And if you want to check the data, then you can see that this time it has 93 records, because the first file customer1.csv, it had 1000 records, but we have not loaded that file this time, and we loaded only the rest of the files, and rest of the files do not contain much data. So if you check, like for example customer2, so this contains only 21 records, and if you check this third file, it contains also 30 records, and fourth, fifth, these contains very few records. So that's why we don't have that much data. Only the first file was containing the more records. Okay, so this was how you can archive the files after processing to a new location. I have used this approach so many times in my real life scenarios and my SSIS packages. so you can use the similar kind of thing in your scenarios as well if you want. Thank you guys for watching the video, and if you like the video then please click the like button and do subscribe to our channel to see more videos on SSIs and other technologies. Thank you so much.